Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Debbie and thank you so much for tuning in. In today's video, I'm going to be starting a new series called Debbie Reflects, and the whole idea of this series is to share my experiences with you guys, share things I've learned in my whole lifetime um, in relationships, in my friendships, career-wise, finances, some mistakes that I've made, and the whole idea of this is to share these experiences with you guys so that you don't end up, making some of these mistakes. With my first topic for this series, I'm going to be talking about things I wish I knew before getting married. Now, this topic, I'm not going to be telling you guys about things after, whilst in the marriage, but things I wish I knew before I even met the mister, before I said I do, before all that kind of stuff. Okay, so I've written down 5 points here that I'm going to be sharing with you guys. The very first point here is self-awareness. Whilst I was single, I had a lot of, identity. Find your identity, know who you are, and all that kind of stuff. And even as much as the whole um, identity thing was all over, it still didn't it didn't click to me. I didn't have full understanding of identity. I finally did before I got married. Don't get me wrong, but I wish I knew about it earlier. Maybe some of the mistakes I made in my previous relationships won't have won't have occurred. Now, what do I mean by identity and self-awareness? It's very essential as an individual to know your self-worth, to know your boundaries, to know your likes, your dislikes, your yes and your no's, your pet peeves. And it's the little things like, do I like ice cream or do I prefer a smoothie? It's those little things. If not, you can easily get swallowed or swoon into your partner where his rules become your rules. Very important. Know who you are in yourself, know who you are in Christ, and know where you're going to. Okay? There's no point getting on a bus or getting into a car that is not going to your destination. You need to know where you're going to. You need to know what God has planned, has in store for you. So when things are happening to other people, you already know that it's okay, that's happening to you, but that's not my journey. That's not where God is taking me to. And then you move. Okay? So point two, God's timing. God's timing and utilizing the waiting period. Now, if you're Christian, you already know that there is something as man's timing and God's timing. God's timing is completely different from our timing. God sees 1,000 years as one day. We see one day as 1,000 years sometimes, okay? So there's, for everything, whenever you're praying to God for something, there's always a waiting period. There's always a waiting period. And for what we understand with the Bible, a waiting period is God actually grooming you, preparing you for what is to come. What do I mean by utilizing your waiting period? Let God speak to you in that stage in your life. So whilst you're waiting, if God is saying to you that you're about to start a business, whilst you're waiting, before you start that business, let God speak to you about that business. Let God tell you what He wants to do with that business. Start learning courses that will help you with that business. Okay, so if you want to start a business on hair growth cream, okay, whilst you're waiting, whilst you're praying, whilst you're holding on to God, it's not just to say, oh, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to start a business, I'm going to start a business. Okay, you're going to start a business, what have you done about it? Okay, you're going to get married, what have you done about it? How many books have you read? How many sermons have you read? How many people have you, who have you taken up as a mentor to help you know some of the things that you need to know before you decide to say I do? Yeah, so you need to utilize your waiting period. It's very, very essential. We make these mistakes over time. We feel like, okay, for me personally, when I finally got that when I won't say God directly came to me to say, Madam, you're going to get married in 3 years' time. But I just knew that it was near, okay? And for me, when I knew my then next relationship, I started making it like, I started trying to put in my best into that relationship to make sure that it works. Forgetting that there are two people in this relationship. As much as you're putting in so much into that relationship, the next person should be putting in as much as well. The next guy walks up to you and he says, "Oh, I like you," and then all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, maybe he's the one, maybe this is the man," and blah blah blah, and then you get so, you forget yourself into that, and you're trying to make it work. Oh my god, this must work. It's not your marriage, okay? A relationship is not your marriage. Even if you put the ring on your finger, he hasn't married you yet, so you're not trying to make anything work. All right. Now, I'm not even telling this to you guys. I'm telling it to my old self. Do you get me? There was no need for me to be putting all that energy into something or into someone that hasn't said, "You know what? I see your worth. I see your good deeds. I see this, and I want to make you mine, or I want us to, not even make you mine. I want us to journey this thing called marriage together." There's no need. Okay? So, I'll leave that there. Point three, self-development. Very, very key. Now, this is one thing that I think I did to maybe 50%. Self-development is so key, guys. And when I mean self-development, develop yourself. It's, if you don't know how to cook, again, utilizing your waiting period, start learning how to cook. Okay? And when I put down self-development for me, let me tell you something. Whilst growing up, this is like when I was in like no, what am I saying, maybe like 10, 12. I would see ladies who pick up their phones and they would just go like, "Hello, hello, can you hear me?" That thing, it used to annoy me. I'm like, "You're a lady, why can't you pick up a phone?" And then the very first time I met a lady and she answered her call, and then she went, "Hello." From that day, I was like, you know what? That's it for me. I started learning how to pick up my phone, pick up a phone call. So me too. "Hello." How you laugh, how you make use of utensils, your knife and fork, so that when he takes you out for dinner, and you're not like embarrassing your entire family members by not being able to practice normal table manners. Okay, you start, whilst you're waiting for the Mr. Right, start learning these things. Okay, how do I laugh in public? What is it that you want to, what is it that once you're married, you want to be? Develop it. So point number 4, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to have regrets. Okay? It's not the end of the world. We live in a world today where people want to point fingers at you. People want to tell you, she did this, he did that, he went here, he did, Do you want to hear what the world has to say about you? No. You've made your mistakes. Fine. Have you learned from it? Yes. Move on. Okay? Move on. This day, like, a lot of people, for me, let me even give you another example of myself. I happen to have been in at the time, I'll call it a toxic relationship. Too toxic, and things happened, and my pastor got to hear about the situation, and he got talking to me, advising me, and he said a lot of things, and at some point he then said, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." And then he said to me, "Debbie, you're a good thing." That word "good thing" broke me like I was in tears. I was, it's like someone just opened the tap of tears on my eyes. I couldn't control it. I lost myself completely. Why? Because I had put so much, like, how can you make such a mistake? How can you be in such a situation? You this like how I had put so much like this can happen, and a lot of us have put ourselves in this kind of situation. How can I end up in this situation? Yes, even the Bible says we're all working towards perfection, we're all working towards righteousness. No man is righteous on his own, so no person is right on their own. People know about your regrets, people know about your mistake, so and so what? It's okay. Have you learned from it? Are you ready to move on? Okay, fine, move on. Just move on. It's your own story, you know. You don't know other people's story. When people actually sit you down and say, "Girl, wait a minute. You think your own is bad. Let me tell you my own story." Then you realize that okay, mine is just a tip of the iceberg compared to what other people are going through. Yet other people who know these things will package themselves well and appear so perfect before you, and you're thinking, oh my god, look at her, she's so this, she's so that. Hey, no, 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 no. If you don't move on, let me tell you what's going to happen. It affects your relationship. Now, I didn't move on for the longest time of things. I didn't. I held on to some of these mistakes that I've made. I was like, oh my god, how could I have done that? And it kept eating into my own happiness. It kept eating into my own joy until, I finally let them go. You know what? I'm not God. I'm not perfect. Nobody said I was perfect. When they gave birth to me, they didn't call me Perfect Debbie. They called me Debbie. Meaning I will make my own mistakes. I will find, and people will, those who want to look at you with judgmental eyes, let them look at you. Their own is coming. Okay, so number 5 is know your love languages. There are 5 love languages. There is act of service, quality time, gifting, words of assurance, physical touch. Now the reason why I'm saying know your love languages, it helps in relationships. It helps you to know when you're with a time waster. It helps you to know when you're in the right relationship for you. It helps you to also know who is the right one for you. I wish I knew this long before I actually knew of it, okay? Your love languages tells a lot about you as a person. Okay, so when you're with someone who is not giving you what you want as a person, it tells you, are you in the right relationship? Should you be moving on? Should you be, packing your bags and like, okay, moving on? And you need to take out time to know these things. Sometimes, like for me, I couldn't tell myself this is what it is. It took, people around me, when they say one thing, say this here, then I'm like, oh, okay, that's who I am, or that's kind of thing. And then they always say that your partner or your spouse, knows you more than you know yourself sometimes. So by the time we started dating, he was able to tell me, okay, this is actually what you enjoy. This is actually what so there are some things you like as a person that you can't say it. You don't want to say it with your mouth, right? Because you're like, if I say this, they'll think I'm selfish, all that kind of stuff like that. But when we started dating, he was able to, help me to, gents. Like, for example, if I thought that gifting was my first love language, it was like, nah, it's not gifting. You're not like thingy, it's this, it's that. So, know your love language. It's very, very important. It helps to know you, it helps to know what you like, it helps you to also know who's wasting your time. If you are someone who likes quality time, and the person you're dating doesn't see it's necessary to give you the quality time that you desire, why are you still there? Move on, girl. You don't need to wait for that guy to break your heart before you finally say, I want to move. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't have this conversation with him or her. Have the conversation first. Hey, look, we're not spending enough time together. I really want us to spend some time together. If the person, you say it once, say it twice, the person isn't really, making efforts to make that work, then pack your bags like a queen, like a king that you are, and move on. Okay, another man's poison is another man's food. Okay, so if he's not interested in giving you quality time, that's fine. That's probably not his own love language. Okay, that's not something he sees necessary. Doesn't mean he's a bad person. It just means he's not the right person for you. So what are you gonna do, girl? You're gonna pack your bag like the queen that you are, and what? Move on. Do a Lori Harvey on him. Is it Lori? I know. Lori Harvey or whatever. Move on like a queen. Just like you were never there. So we're gonna end this video here, okay? These are 5 things that I wish I knew before I got married. Relationship is it's something. Relationship with someone who you're not married to is another thing. Relationship in marriage is another thing, okay? And the one thing I've come to learn is growth is very essential. You as a person needs to allow growth, allow change is inevitable. Wherever you are, whatever situation you find yourself in, whatever circumstances, whatever stage of life you think you may be, change, in fact, every stage of life requires one change or the other. Okay, so you should be ready to, take up these changes, take up this new challenges. A change is a challenge, okay, because by the time you pick up this particular change, then you have to adapt, then you have to, it's a challenge, and adapting to a new thing is actually a challenge. So yeah, we're gonna end this here. Thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I hope that this video has been enlightening to you guys. Thank you, and please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, click the notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. I plan to do this Debbie Reflect series once a month. I don't know that's for sure. I'm gonna go with God's leading on this particular series. Okay, if God says it's okay for me to share some of these things, I will. If He says hold off a bit, I'm gonna hold off. So the aim is for us to keep it once a month, but sometimes, I might need to hold off with some of these things a bit. Okay, so thank you, and I'll see you again in my next video. Bye, guys.